I paid $521 for this pair of Jordan 4 Midnight Navies. If I sold them now, I would lose $300. Or how about a more recent one? I paid a staggering $572 for this pair of satin breads and lost $326. But what's even worse is those two shoes are not even part of the top 10. So guys, today you're gonna see the top 10 sneakers that I've lost money on. And I'm sure some of you guys in the past have bought a pair of shoes as soon as they release and they eventually just drop in price. And it might have made you a little bit annoyed, thinking that you should have just waited a little bit longer because the price is now way lower than what you paid. Well, for me, I can't wait. You see, the main reason I pay so much for these shoes is so that I can get them before they release. And sneakers cost an absolute fortune before they drop. Like these right here, the Jordan 1 Palomino. I bought these things not even a full week before the actual release, and I paid $500. And the crazy thing is once this pair of shoes dropped, it pretty much sat on shelves. Like, I mean, I think they might have sold out on the Nike sneakers app, but there was plenty of retailers which still have these. You can walk into a store and probably find your size. With the current price, I've literally lost $370 on this pair of Jordan 1 Palomino. But for me to be able to get a review out for you guys is obviously super important. You guys get to see what this pair of sneakers looks like in different lighting conditions and on foot and with different outfits, and you get my opinion on whether I think the materials are good or just completely terrible. So hopefully it helps a lot of you guys out when it comes to actually buying the pair of shoes that's going to be dropping. Which leads me to number 9 on this list. We've got the Jordan 1 Washed Black. Now this one's somewhat similar to the Palominos. I paid just a little bit over $500, and with the price now, lost $375. And sometimes I think about that. You know, I'm wearing these things in the gym, doing calf raises, creasing them up to hell, and I'm thinking, yo, I paid $500 for this pair of shoes. But I guess the silver lining is that I do really like this pair of Jordan 1s. It's like I've said in previous videos, one of my most worn Jordan 1s that have dropped this year. And I'm probably gonna get a ton of wear out of these things because they're super wearable and easy to throw on. It's like I just opt to wear these things so often. Not entirely sure if these completely sold out or not, but either way, they're obviously not reselling for much. It definitely showcases the Jordan 1 hype for this year. Number 8 on the list is now one of my most expensive shoes in terms of how much I paid, and that is the Nike Dunk Low Born and Raised. Now these things I actually got a week or two before they were supposed to release, which I believe was June or July. But obviously, as we know, right before they were about to release, the founder of Born and Raised, Chris Spanto, sadly passed away. Now I paid £657 for this pair of shoes, or about $800. The prices they're at now, I'm losing $380 with this pair of sneakers, which is way more than I normally would pay. But my plan with this pair of shoes was basically to get them in because I had them in so early. I would make the review on them and I would try and sell them. Now obviously, because I wear the sneakers in my reviews, it does knock off the price at least $100 or $200. But I was completely fine with taking a loss because they were not dead stock. So I was just kind of like, you know what, I'll take a little bit of a hit, but yeah, it's worth getting them in. But then when the news broke that Chris passed away and they kind of delayed the release of these, or I think at the time we didn't know whether it was canceled or just delayed. So I was like, you know what? I'm keeping these things. I'm wearing them. I really like this pair of shoes, and I don't know if I'm going to get another chance at having this pair of shoes again. So yeah, definitely glad that I kept them. Honestly, one of my favorite Nike SB collaborations, full stop, and definitely one of the best shoes to drop this year. Right, coming in at number 7 is, surprise, surprise, another pair of Jordan 1s. This is the Jordan 1 Lucky Green. And you know what's crazy about these things is I didn't even pay as much for these as the past ones that we just spoke about. I paid $460 for these. However, the price is so low on this pair of Jordan 1s, I'm losing $381. So yeah, I mean, this is gotta be one of the biggest steals in terms of a Jordan 1 for this year. And it's a nice pair of Jordans. Like, the leather is not too bad. I mean, it's nothing incredible. I don't think they did as well as like the taxis. But yeah, the price on these things and how much I paid is definitely pretty painful. Like, I'm always gonna try and prioritize making the best videos for you guys. So if that means I have to throw on a pair of Jordan 1s, crease them to hell and lose a bunch of money just making the video, I'm completely fine with that. Either way, Lucky Green's definitely one of the biggest L's, but only number 7 on the list, so let's see what we got next. Finally, number 6 on the list is not a pair of Jordan 1s, it's actually the Yeezy Foam Runner in the Vermillion colorway. This one I actually still have the receipt for because I think I just want to remind myself of how crazy this was. We're looking at a whopping $576 $476. So yeah, selling these now, I'm losing $414. Now, there was a time where the price on these things was actually relatively high. I don't know whether rumors of these things restocking this month have kind of crashed the price. But yeah, the price is definitely down low. I mean, this is quite a cool colorway of the foam runner. Like, it's not my favorite colorway to wear, just because I normally prefer like the sand colorway or some of the mixture ones. The red is super vibrant, but the fact that this is a red October Yeezy, like they dropped these things in October, I think it was last year, maybe the year before. So it is kind of like the Adidas Yeezy version of Red October, which I always liked that concept of. So it's definitely a pair of shoes that I really want in my collection. It was definitely pretty savage that I had to pay that price. Like, how the hell did foam runners get to $576 in the first place? And you're gonna see later on in the video, there is something to do with a curse for red shoes, but we'll get into that. Right, coming in at number 5 on the list, and we're right back over the freaking Jordan 1s. It's the Jordan 1 Dark Marina Blue. So I paid $518 for these things. They dropped right back in the beginning of the year, I believe in January, and they probably were like instantly one of my most expensive sneakers at the time. That list has definitely increased, but that brings the loss of these things to $415, almost like $460. It's definitely not a bad pair of Jordan 1s, like super wearable, obviously the colors, and it's nice. If I paid like freaking, you know, $100 for these things, like they're probably going for now, you can pick these things up at a very much under retail. But obviously I had to get an early review out, paid way too much, and yeah, it's a pretty similar storyline to the rest of them. And coming in at number 4 is probably just the biggest L purchase I've ever made, I think, to this day, but it is the Yeezy 350 Mono Mist. Now look, I gave this pair of shoes probably the best shot that I possibly could. Like, as you can see, I've worn these things. They've got dirt all over them. They've even got some marks on them, and I've even outlined in previous videos, these have made it, I think, to a couple different lists that I've made where I speak about my biggest regrets in sneakers that I've bought. These are up there. I'm not a fan of the materials. I kind of like the way that it looks, but this material is just, it's not as comfortable. But here's the kicker. I also paid $520 for these. Now, in my defense, it was when this brand new knit material just came out. It was super exciting. Suddenly, Yeezy brand decides to completely recreate the upper of the Yeezy 350 model. So I was super intrigued, and obviously I wanted to get an early review out just to make sure, like, is the sizing different? How do these things look and feel on foot? So I think it was a super important video to make, but yeah, if I sold these things now, I'm taking a loss of $433. I believe there was like 3, maybe 4 colorways of these things. It's just not the best Yeezy 350 that you can buy. And obviously that reflects in the resale price of these things because, yeah, it's super low. People can't even freaking give these away for way under retail. Right, taking third spot is somewhat of a similar story to the last one. It is another Yeezy 350 again, except this time it's the Compact Slate Red. All right, so here we go. I've also kept the receipt of this one, similar to the Vermillion foam runner. So here you go, $585. So that makes these things a loss of $450 for probably one of my least favorite colorways of this model. The model itself, super nice and cozy, like definitely one of the most comfortable Yeezy 350 models. But this colorway, man, it's like they tried to go all over red, but then they also added this green underneath. And I think this was the second colorway that they ever made. They did the Covalite one first, which was like all over blue, and that one obviously was super interesting. I paid a stack for those as well, but I think this was the second colorway, so everybody was still super interested in this model, and I was as well. I wanted to try it out, make sure, like, you know, the sizing is all good. We hardly ever see all over red Yeezys, so this is definitely one that I wanted to get in, and obviously, because I wanted it so bad, I paid the price for that. All right, coming in at number 2, the second most expensive, biggest loss on a pair of shoes that I have taken is the Yeezy 350 Pirate Black. So here's the thing. Obviously, the return of this pair of shoes was a massive deal. Like, we didn't know if we were gonna get these things again. It was a super special release, and obviously, this is a pair of shoes that I've wanted for a very long time. So the fact that they were actually releasing, I was super excited to get them in, and I definitely wanted to get an early review out for you guys. But I had to pay $629 for these. So that makes these a loss of $450 $56. Which honestly, for anybody who didn't do something ridiculous like me, pay over $600 for these things. Right now, you can get these, I think, for a really solid price point. Like, they're never coming back. This is an iconic pair of Yeezy 350s. It's just a piece of Yeezy history that I just have so many fond memories of this pair of shoes. But yeah, I definitely paid that price knowing I was going to keep these things in the collection, knew I was going to take a big loss on these. I mean, I didn't quite anticipate the resale price of these going as low as it is now. Here we go, guys. The sneaker I have lost the most money on, the #1 spot, is the freaking Jordan 1 Chicago Lost and Found. This is just crazy. I paid $823 for this pair of shoes. Painful to say out loud, but here's the worst part. The loss on these is $538. So yeah, this was instantly one of the most expensive shoes that I've ever bought at that time. It was obviously the biggest sneaker release of 2022. Everybody freaking wanted this pair of shoes. And obviously, I mean, hey, it's a Chicago Jordan 1 that was done really, really well. And the thing is, there was a ton of pairs, but it's just one of those shoes that's so iconic, everybody freaking wants them. Obviously, with them being so incredibly hyped, these were instantly insanely expensive before they dropped. It's my first Chicago. I was definitely gonna have these things in the collection. Obviously, I truly believe that it's worth it. I think it's hopefully you guys enjoyed the early reviews. Getting a look at the pair of shoes before they actually released, I think was, you know, a big, huge part of why I even started YouTube. Those were some of the funnest videos to watch, when I would watch other creators talk about a pair of shoes that I knew I was going to be going for. Yeah, let me know what you guys think of this list. But hey, if you guys want to know exactly what shoes I'm actually wearing at the moment, check that video out over there.